Good evening and welcome back to Gin and Gemstones. This evening, we are going to be talking about the difference between quartz and topaz crystals. This is something that Bruce Searle requested, but he specifically wanted to know about crystals rather than cut materials because he buys rough for faceting. So that's what we're going to go through this evening. So hopefully you all have a gin. I have. As you can see, this one I have made pink. This is just a standard Gordon's, but I have treated it essentially because I have unnaturally altered the colour and the flavour of it. So we'll talk about that in gemstones at some point as well, how we unnaturally alter colour and features in gemstones, which is then a treatment. So I have, as I said, treated my gin. So cheers to all of you. I hope you've got something. Following up from yesterday, maybe you saw the video that I posted earlier. It's actually just a little slideshow. I was talking about some of those really cool inclusions that you sometimes see in diamonds. So I've posted a picture of peridot inclusions in diamonds and a couple of different garnets that Josh Hyman has kindly allowed me to use. So have a look at those if you haven't already seen them. But moving on to what we're going to talk about this afternoon, we're going to talk about the difference between quartz crystals and topaz crystals. So going back to a word of caution, a bit like I said when we were talking about the difference between citrine and sapphire. You can only really say, I've got a quartz crystal and I've got a topaz crystal and separate them in this way if you know you've only got quartz and you've only got topaz. With crystals, in the same way with cut stones, there are lots of things that can sometimes look like each other. So the tips and tricks that I'm going to talk about today will help you separate quartz from topaz, but they do not identify quartz or identify topaz. There's a real big difference with that. And so the best way that you're going to learn the differences between these crystals and other crystals that are out there, same as always, is observation and getting familiar with the material. So the best tip that I would say to you is see as many crystals as you can. Look at them, handle them, look at the features, look at the shape, look at that sort of thing, because they do all have very particular forms, shapes, morphology. Some of them, crystallography and mineralogy is an incredibly complex subject, and I certainly am not an expert in either, but I do know how to recognise some of the crystals, and hopefully I have a considerably better understanding of crystallography than a lot of other people, but certainly a lot of lay people. So what I can help you with is the things that I look at and the things that I see when I'm looking at the difference between a quartz and a topaz. So I have also got a couple of crystals to show you. I've tried to find the biggest ones that I've got. They are still not massive. But hopefully I'll be able to show you a couple of features in these crystals. Make sure I put them down in the right place so I know which ones I'm picking up. Show you some of the features in these crystals that will help you separate quartz and topaz. I'm also going to be sharing my screen a little bit as well, because I've got a fantastic resource for you to use if you are looking at crystals, which is mindat.org. I will put that in the comments after we've finished. But it really is an amazing resource, and if you want to start studying crystals and crystallography, it really is the best place to start. So, what are the main differences between quartz and topaz? One of the first differences is actually not something visual. It is something that is non-visual, heft. So, topaz is considerably denser than quartz. Quartz has a specific gravity of around about 2.65. What that means is quartz is 2.65 times as dense as water. Topaz, on the other hand, has the density which is almost exactly the same as diamond. It's around about 3.5. So topaz is 3.5 times as dense as water. But what that means is quartz at 2.65 and topaz at 3.5, you can feel the difference in the density of the material. Topaz is over 1.3 times denser than quartz. So a similar sized piece feels considerably heavier. So I have two similar sized pieces here. This is my quartz, this is my topaz. And if I feel them in my hands, heft them, I can feel that this topaz is considerably denser than this piece of quartz. So that's your first port of call, getting used to handling the material and feeling how much denser the topaz is than the quartz, and you really can feel a difference. And certainly with experience, if you then had a bag of colourless crystals and you knew some of them were quartz and some of them were topaz, you literally could separate them just by feeling the heft, feeling the density of those two things. So then the other things that you're going to see that are going to be differences in them are also potentially if you have coloured crystals. I've only got one crystal here today which is coloured, which is this topaz here, which is not very coloured. It's only just a sort of a pale yellowy orangish. The rest of them are all colourless. But if you do have coloured crystals, for instance, if your crystal is purple, it is not a topaz. Topaz doesn't occur naturally in purple to my knowledge. So either it is a topaz and it's been unnaturally coloured, which is something that you want to worry about anyway, or it's not a topaz. But also sometimes the types of yellow or the types of orange that you get in topaz and citrine differ, so get used to looking at those sorts of things. The other thing that you might see difference in them would be inclusions. But topaz and quartz also have quite similar inclusions a lot of the time. The main ones that you're going to see in quartz that you're not going to see in topaz are those tiger stripes that we talked about in the citrine video, and potentially quite obvious colour zoning. You're not necessarily going to see that quite so much in topaz. But then if we move on to the shapes of the crystal, because this is really, really key. This is the way that you're going to start to tell them apart. Now, both topaz and quartz are what we call prismatic crystals. So the body of the crystal, this main bit here, is a prism. You can imagine that a little bit like a box. So you've got a box which has got a certain shape, a certain outline, a certain cross section, a certain number of sides. That's your prism, the box. And the box has then got a top and a bottom, and those are certain shapes. In quartz, the box will pretty much, the prism will pretty much always be six-sided. I don't know whether you can see that there. If I try and hold it against the black there, it pretty much always looks like a hexagon. That's a bit easier there. Pretty much always looks like a hexagon on the outside. It will have six sides. Not necessarily an exact hexagon, but that's what the cross-section of quartz will pretty much always look like. However, the cross-section of topaz is different. The cross-section of topaz is pretty much always this lozenge shape. So straight away, the outline of the crystal can really help you. Does it have a box shape or does it have a lozenge shape? So I'm just going to share my screen and show you what these crystals look like in a diagram on Mindat. And then what you can do is you can see what this looks like in a diagram, and then if you've got access to some crystals, you can have a look at the actual crystals to see if you can see that. So I'm just going to pull that up. I am going to make me a little smaller. I'm going to move me to the bottom left, I think. And then I'm going to share my screen. So what you've got on the screen here is a quartz crystal. And if we look down the end of the crystal, what we'll see is that cross section that I'm talking about. So you can see here that is what the quartz crystal looks like. It pretty much always looks like a hexagon. You've got these six sides. If we look at the topaz in comparison, what you can see is that pretty much always has this lozenge shape here. Completely different shape. Hexagon, lozenge. So that's your first thing that you're going to look at. What is the cross section? What is the outline of the crystal look like? Then the next thing that you're going to look at is the actual shape of the crystal itself. This is what a quartz crystal should look like. You've got those six sides. You frequently have this nice pointed top, so the end of the box is almost like a cone shape, and that the same on the bottom. However, quartz crystals are pretty much always broken on the bottom. You do sometimes get what's called doubly terminated crystals, where you've got this nice point at the top and nice point at the bottom. But generally what you do get is they normally have a break at around about 45 degrees along the bottom. So I'm going to show you that with some images of quartz. Here you can see this quartz crystal is broken at about a 45-degree angle across the bottom. These ones are generally really nice mineral samples, the pictures that they've got on Mindat. So often these ones are the ones that are still on matrix, i.e. the host rock that they grew on, or nice doubly terminated crystals. So for instance, this here. Crystals like this will frequently get broken in nature, so you rarely get this nice double termination. You frequently get a break at about 45 degrees angle. I'm trying to find broken ones for you again, but you get the picture. What you're seeing is this break around about a 45-degree angle. If we compare that with pictures of topaz, topaz has what's called perfect cleavage. What that means is the crystal can split entirely in two quite evenly, so it will have frequently a really, really flat, almost perfect break at the bottom. So if the end of the topaz crystal is broken, you won't usually get that 45-degree angle. What you will usually get is, if you can see this crystal here that is sat on a side, you can see that the bottom of that crystal there is entirely flat. That's the way that it is broken. No one has cut that, no one has polished that, it is entirely flat. You'll often see these cleavage faces, which is what they're called when they're broken like that, will also maybe sometimes have like a little bit of iridescence or a pearly sheen to them, or a slightly stepped like look. This one again, quite nice flat break on the bottom there. Those ones are slightly different, they're not quite as perfect. But this one, nice flat break, and that's what you're expecting to see. I'm actually going to make my screen go away a second, and I'm going to show you that in these crystals to see if you can see that. So I have a topaz crystal here, which has a perfectly flat bottom. I have a topaz crystal here, which I've probably just broken again, which has a perfectly flat bottom, and that is where it has broken. They frequently look like this, perfectly flat bottom. Another one here, flat bottom. Another one here, oops, there you go, flat bottom. You can see that there is a trend. Then if we look at the quartz crystals, here, 45-degree angle break. Quartz crystal. Oops, there you go. Ooh, up that way. Gosh, this camera is back to front. I really don't have much spatial awareness anyway, so it's really tough. 45-degree angle break. And I haven't chosen these specifically. I have literally just gone into my teaching samples and pulled them out. That's a little diddy one. 45-degree angle break. So you can see that there are these certain characteristics or certain patterns that you're going to see. And then the other thing that you might see are things like surface features. And on quartz and topaz, they sometimes have what's called striations, which are stripes, essentially, along the crystals. And they will go in opposite directions. I am just pulling my screen up for you, and I will show you what I mean by those. So if you hold the crystal with the pointy bit at the top, on a quartz crystal, your stripes are going to go sideways, along the side of the crystal. You can see the stripes there, along the side, here, stripes along the side. In your topaz crystal, however, your stripes are going to go up and down. Here you go. If you've got your pointy bit at the top, your stripes are going to go up and down. And so when we're looking at the shapes and the features and everything of the crystals, those for me are the three key things that I'm going to look for to tell those two crystals apart. So if we just go back to the pictures of the crystals, so our quartz crystal is going to have a 6-sided outline. If it's intact, you're going to have a pointy top and a pointy bottom. So if we just look at that on the end, that's the cross section. If it's got stripes on it, those stripes, if you're holding the point at the top, so it's upwards, the stripes are going to go sideways. And if we then look at our topaz crystal, those stripes on the side are going to go upwards. If you've got the points at the top, it will frequently be broken at the bottom with a perfectly flat face. And if we look along the side on the cross section, it's going to have a lozenge cross section. Then your other things that you might see, I'm just going to make myself bigger again, are not necessarily see, is feel. The topaz is considerably denser than the quartz, so it's going to feel much heftier. So those are your 4 main ways, Bruce, that you are going to tell the difference between your two crystals. Oh, Bruce, you're late. You're going to have to watch it back. But that's okay. I've gone through it, so hopefully that will get you 4 points that you can look at in the crystals to tell the difference between a quartz and a topaz. So if anybody has got any questions about the quartz and the topaz or the crystals or anything that I've shown you that you want me to clarify, pop the question in the comments below. I'll be able to see that in a minute or so when they pop up. In the meantime, I'm just going to read out a couple of comments that we've got here, and if there's any questions, I am going to follow those, and then we can finish up from there. So we've got Justine is in again, and she's got wine. Well done, Justine. I think I might have a glass of wine with dinner. I know that's a bit cheeky, but I've had a really long day today. I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I have worked non-stop. So I really deserve this gin today. So I also feel like I might deserve a glass of wine as well. Kay, she's got pink gin as well. Well done, on trend. Oh, Simone Westerman, she's nagging me. She said I'm doing a quiz for them. I don't know whether you've seen them. They've been really, really cool. Pressman last week and this week have done some quizzes on their website. Simone, can you let me know whether we can still access last week's metal hallmarking quiz on the website? Is there a link for that? If so, can you pop that in the comments below so people can access it? But yeah, last week Pressman Mastermelt did a quiz on hallmarking, which was really cool. I shared that on the page last week, so you should be able to find it. And the coin one I shared on the page this week. And next week I'm going to be doing a guest quiz for them, just a really simple quiz on gemstones, and the due date is tomorrow morning, Simone, so you can't be nagging me yet because you'll get it tomorrow, love, and I will get it to you. But you've got some beer, good. Joe's got tea, well done, Joe. I'm very proud of you. I'm not sure I could be that good. And Justine is making visors for the NHS tomorrow. Well done, Justine. That is a very, very good thing to do. Okay. Oh, Fee, you got 9 out of 18 for the coins. I think I got 12, or I certainly didn't get 100%, which is what I got in the hallmarking. But maybe this is just a bit of an excuse. But I did feel that I got all of the commercial information correct on the coins rather than the specialist information. And as I am not a numismatist, I'm a gemmologist. I am perfectly happy with that. But they are really cool, the quizzes, because it does make you see if there is any gaps in your knowledge, or it makes you look stuff up, and maybe you'll remember it next time. Less gin drinking, more quiz making. Stop nagging, Westerman. I'll do it tomorrow. Right, anyway, that's it from me then. If we haven't got any more questions, these sessions are designed to be a quick chat and a quick drink, and that's what we're doing. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what I'm doing tomorrow, so if anybody has got something that they particularly want me to discuss on a Friday afternoon, let me know. Other than that, I'll pop the links in for Minda in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed this, as always, please like the page, follow the page, and share it. Share it on your pages, share it in groups that you do if you know that there'll be people who'd be interested in this, because that would be lovely and I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, right, okay. Sue has asked, what is the website? Yep, I'm going to pop that in the bottom for you, Sue. I'm going to put the website that I've talked about, Minda. I'm going to put the link in there for you. But also, Minda, I think, get their crystal models and their information from another website, which is actually a Dutch website. I think it's called Smorf. So I'll put that in as well, because they sell these super cool crystal models as well. But other than that, like the page, follow the page, share it with your friends, and I will see you tomorrow. Cheers!